We are officially finished 5 weeks of football, and Bobby Bottle is back with another edition of his NFL Power Rankings. Often duplicated, never replicated. The man, the myth, the legend, Bobby. Each week, the list changes slightly. I think we're going to see some more changes again, and I think we may even see a team with the star from the state of Texas finally reach that top 10. Even though last week you said they're what, 14th, 15th, 16th. And now all of a sudden, all it took was a week and they're in your top 10. Let's hear it, though.
That's how quick things happen in sports. And you know what? To be fair, they could really, really well be 13th, 14th, 15th. But the logjam from 5 to 21, I've got all teams written down here, 5 to 21. I'm just throwing darts at a dartboard this week. So let's go ahead. We're going to put the Dallas Cowboys in at number 10, even though they have a very tough schedule coming up. I'll give them some respect. Number 9, the Green Bay Packers. They're going to keep falling and falling. This team is not the same Green Bay team we're used to. Number 8, the Baltimore Ravens. Very impressive win. Had a tough schedule. They're back in. Number 7, the Minnesota Vikings. Kirk Cousins. That's about as high as they're going to go, I think, this year. Number 6, the LA Chargers. Really tough game in Cleveland. Probably should have lost the game, won the game. They have stayed in the same spot. But number 5, San Francisco 49ers. I really have no one else to put in the 5 spot. So I said, heck, why not the team that almost won the Super Bowl? San Francisco. Number 4, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Even though, I mean, the refs seem to really like Tom Brady, they're still number 4. Number 3, maybe too low, the Philadelphia Eagles coming in at number 3. Number 2, the Kansas City Chiefs, who are in a dogfight right now with the Las Vegas Raiders. And number 1, the Buffalo Bills, who just are the best team I've ever seen at beating up bad teams.
And I certainly know a lot about that as they put a show on against my team this past week. I'm finally glad to see that you've taken the Rams completely out of your rankings. You finally listened to me for once.
They are, but they're in this logjam. Can I give you guys the 11 teams I have after that? I don't think there's a big gap between 5. Normally, this is how it usually works. You've got your 1 or 2 teams that are just way better than everybody else. Here we have 4. Then you have a group of teams that are good and can win the Super Bowl, but they're just below that top tier. Then you have that kind of middle. After 4, I'm telling you, I've got teams here. Jacksonville, I think, is pretty good. Miami's pretty good. Vegas, I think, is very good. And they're not – I think you're going to see Vegas shoot into this ranking at some point. The Giants and Jets, good records. Tennessee's okay. Arizona, I think, is pretty good. Atlanta has been giving teams fits. Cincinnati, Cleveland, the Rams. These are 21 teams. From 5 to 21, there's not much separating these teams, in my opinion. Maybe you guys disagree, but – I can't remember seeing parity like this in a long time.
Any given Sunday, right? Any team can beat anybody, unless you're those top 4 teams. But even right now, we're seeing that KC's having a little bit of difficulty with their division rivals from Las Vegas, who always seem to give them fits. Doesn't matter how poor or well each team is playing. Whenever they play each other, it's always a close game. I was gonna say something and now I forgot. I hate when this happens.
Dad brain.
Yeah, sure.
I gotta say, I'm a little I'm impressed with a couple teams that I think not there yet, but could be there soon. I don't know what's going on in New York. Not more of the Jets, but like Brian Daboll's done a great job with the Giants. Well, most notably Saquon Barkley. I don't think everybody else. Their wide receivers are you, myself, and Joe. That's what it seems like because I can't name a guy. Is Slayton still on the team? Is Darius Slayton still on the team?
Their top 3 receivers, I think, were out on Sunday. I think I picked against them.
And they're trying to deal Kenny Golladay. So
good luck with that one.
You know what I mean? It's like that goes to tell like they're doing a decent job. Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned the Cowboys because they got some. I wouldn't say maybe it's not a hard decision, but I don't want to say it's the Bledsoe Tom Brady scenario, but you got to give Cooper Rush some credit, man. This guy's he's making a name for himself. But I think this is more of a credit to that defense. And Micah Parsons is incredible. Like that was such a good pick by Dallas. He is an incredible defensive player for the Cowboys, and that just goes to show you like sometimes it's not always the flashy shiny new toy on offense when you draft because I give him a lot of credit for what Dallas is doing. I'm gonna keep another. I got my eye on another team. I know it's crazy to say. They're giving team fits. I really am surprised what they're doing in Seattle. I know they're 2-3, but they are putting up an offense that nobody saw coming. Geno Smith, like that name is synonymous with like who? You know what I mean? Like he's been holding clipboards for teams for the past like 7-8 years, and they're giving teams fits. And I'm actually really impressed. So that NFC West is a lot tighter than I thought it was going to be. So
Top
good
10
on them.
offense right now, Seattle.
Yeah.
And no one thought that. You think Russell Wilson leaves and they'd be much worse, but they're much better. And Russell Wilson's offense down in Denver is downright awful. So funny how that seems to work sometimes.
Do you remember when I apologized about the Chicago Giants game? I believe it was Chicago Giants last week. Was there anything worse than that Broncos? Jeez,
Yes.
who did they play?
And again, it's a Thursday nighter. Those Thursday night games are awful. They all suck.
You know what's worse, Rob? You and I watching that game, rooting for each of the teams.
Oh, sorry, it was Indy.
That was my team and your team in agonizing pain. And
guys, full disclosure,
win.
I was roaming New York. I did not watch 1 second of that game, and thank God I didn't, because just from the reports, just hearing some of the things, that was, that was really tough. So Micah Parsons, Frank, I agree, man. The guy is fantastic, and he was supposed to be the 4th or 5th pick, and people were like, "Well, he's too small," and I really wanted Denver to get him at 9, and then I'm getting Surtain, which is me, that's a hell of a pick. But Micah Parsons is one of my favorite players. The guy has just been an absolute beast. But I think Dallas does have a decision because, as I said, Dak Prescott is kind of average. The fact that we can have a guy named Cooper Rush fill into it for him and they don't miss a beat. It's just showing that Coop is, or that Dak is just kind of he's an average quarterback.
I disagree. Dak is much better than Cooper Rush. Right now, Cooper Rush is much more of a game manager. They're letting the defense win games. They're not turning the ball over. Dak Prescott can make plays. And they're going to get it. They're going to, like you said, their schedule gets a little tougher. They're going to need their quarterback to make some plays. And we're going to see him. If he comes back and they play these tougher opponents, we'll see. I think he makes a much bigger difference than Cooper Rush. Credit to Cooper Rush. Remember, we love that football name. It's a great football name, but I don't think you can compare both guys.
Joe, where do you put Dak Prescott? Ranking quarterbacks. Where are we putting him?
Oh boy, I think I would have him in around 10.
Ooh,
I haven't really thought about it too much. Like I'd have to write all the guys down, but he's in that 10 to 15 range.
And that's an average quarterback. There's
Cooper
no
Rush is not that.
We don't know. Cooper Rush could be somewhere in that area. It's just like these power rankings from 11 to 20.
Yeah.
There's not much separating a lot of, once you get past that tier. The Thursday night football, you're onto something. So I had Russell Wilson, and it's so demoralizing to be in a fantasy football league waking up Friday going, I'm out, I'm done. I was finished.
My week is done. Yeah, I agree.
I don't get why they're pushing this agenda. I woke up Friday and I said, I don't have to look at that league. That week is dead. I'm done. 11 points for my quarterback. It's over. I don't get why they're just pushing this Thursday night agenda.
I'll tell you why. Jeff Bezos paid about $1 billion to the league to broadcast these Thursday night games on Amazon Prime. That guy has never signed a worse deal in his life because the return on his investment is awful. The product is awful. I feel bad for the guy. Should have sponsored Sunday Night Football.
I like the London games. I would keep going with these London games. I like that this kind of starts at 9:30, and if I really want to wake up early and watch some football real early, we got something going from 9:30. I think it's way better than the Thursday nighters. But I got one last thing for the week. We've seen a bunch of bad roughing the passer calls, and I understand. When you guys are when teams are paying quarterbacks $3 million a week, basically, given what their salaries are, $50 million over 17 games, you're paying them $3 million. You don't want these guys to get hurt. But at what point do we say maybe we're just going a little bit too over the edge? Where I've considered maybe saying just put a red jersey on the quarterback, say this is the one guy we can't hit. It's like, two-hand touch, and that's it. Because there have been some egregious roughing the passer calls. It's egregious, and there's just I'm almost at the point where it's like, don't even let the quarterbacks run. Make it like flag football where they have to stay behind the line of scrimmage and they got to throw the ball. I think it'd be more exciting instead of having them running all over the place. And it would eliminate this some of these, penalties. I know once the quarterback gets outside the pocket, he's considered a runner, but we treat quarterbacks differently. They can slide, when they get near the sidelines, we can't hit them. I think that there needs to be a reform.
So you just talked about that Thursday night game between the Broncos and the Colts. Both of you guys said it was the worst game you ever watched. Why was that game so crap? Because both quarterbacks were terrible.
Mm-hmm.
This league, which is a multi-billion-dollar business, depends. It's an entertainment business, and in order to get good entertainment, you need good quarterback play. If all your quarterbacks are getting hurt, that will ruin that hurts your bottom line as a business. So they're protecting the business by protecting the quarterbacks. There's some horrible calls, but every time there's a horrible call, we have to swing the other way and say, just get rid of the rule. Like, I feel like we're overreactionary to everything in sports. Terrible offside rule, offside call. Oh, we got to give offside review now. We got to review every offside play, and it just snowballs one thing after another. You got to protect the quarterbacks. They're the franchise for the teams and for the league. And you just got to get on the officials and say, guys, there's a point here. Like, this right here is not roughing the passer. I don't know. Maybe you hold them more accountable. Maybe you don't give them primetime games. Maybe they don't get playoff games. But what you're saying is a big reform on it. They're not going to do that because they can't do that. They need their quarterbacks healthy and playing well.
I agree, but I mean, we saw.
Well, thank you. Those words coming out of your mouth are awfully sweet.
And let me say this by preface. Let me preface this by saying I said I understand why they're doing this. Like, these guys are the league. This is the quarterbacks make the NFL now.
Take your
no
preface,
question.
Okay, and
yes,
why no love for the Dolphins? You give them one shiny week in the spotlight, and you take them right out. You take their hopes right out. One week they lose because they don't have their starting quarterback, and you take them right out of the top 10. Why?
Would you have kept them? Would you have kept them in there? I don't know. Before we go to the Dolphins, wait till you guys see the Kansas City Vegas call. This was even the commentators are like, and I think I love Troy Aikman. He's going to get into trouble because he said something a little dicey after the play that I'm sure people are going to complain about.
What did he say?
He said at some point we got to take the dresses off. He's getting in a lot of trouble for that. I mean, I think as soon as that came out, it's like, 2022, we're not allowed to say anything like that. So he's getting in trouble, and I love Troy Aikman. But at some point, it's like, guys, this is like, we're not gonna. You guys are not upset because it didn't happen to you. But if this was my team, I would be steaming. I mean, steaming. It's ridiculous. And why not put a red jersey like they have in practice? You can't hit the quarterbacks in practice. Just say we can't hit them in games either.
Fair enough.
Dolphins.
I remembered what I had to say before.
Okay, go ahead.
It was, you were talking about all these teams that, like, from 5 to 21, they're also interchangeable. It's like what Tom Brady, they asked him what he sees. He's like, I see a lot of bad football out there. There's just a lot of teams that are not crisp. It's early in the season still. And I guess maybe that's why you see such a big teardrop from those top 4 teams to the rest of the teams.
So I heard another theory too that was really I think it's incredibly smart. If the league actually did this, they put a lot of bad teams playing bad teams to start, and the good teams playing good teams, so that there's parity. So the bad teams are still around, and good teams are kind of cannibalizing themselves. If that's true, I wouldn't be surprised because the NFL they're geniuses, but
not my Steelers though. Still 1-4, baby. Odds-on favorite to get the first overall pick. I love it. First time since they selected Terry Bradshaw. And on that note, let's get on out of here. Please press that like button, that subscribe button, and tell us what you think of Bobby Bottle's power rankings.